All right, hey everyone, welcome back to the weekly live stream. We have Ike with us once again. He was here last week, but we were having some serious audio difficulties, and it was a bit difficult to hear everything. So, plus it was such a good conversation. It's great to connect and talk about this stuff again. Ike, great for you to be with us. How are you doing this Sunday?
I'm doing good. Nice Sunday. I'm on my boat. Nice sunny Florida.
So
Yeah,
you're off the. So where are you exactly?
in Miami, in the Keys.
Just
I'm heading
just off
towards
the
the Keys.
coast.
Yeah,
Nice,
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
And you do a
So,
lot of sailing, right? Like,
yeah, yeah. Like sail all over the place. I've been sailing for wow, since I was 20. So I'm going on 25 years of sailing.
wow, yeah, that's a long
Yeah,
time.
yeah. I'm a water boy.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, like we were talking about
And I'm a
before.
captain.
You're a
Yeah,
captain,
super
like
joke. Yeah, I got
officially.
my legit captain's license.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's
yeah,
really cool. And you've been to like all over, haven't you? You've been all over the
yeah. The
Atlantic, I think,
Caribbean.
in the Caribbean.
Yeah, New England.
And so that's
All done
probably
the
the
place.
best stargazing. I mean, there's probably
Oh,
10 times better than even an island, I would say,
oh
right?
yeah. Did you see the moon conjunct Venus last night? It was like
Oh, yeah.
strongest light in the sky. It was beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. So I'll just
Yeah.
introduce everyone here just to say hi to everyone in the community, and we'll jump in. We'll do a quick recap of what we talked about
Mhm.
last time, and get into some new ideas here. But Kiana, great for you to join us. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us here this Sunday. And if you can let me know how the sound is. Gabriella, how's the sound? Can you hear me and Ike equally? Is one louder, significantly louder than the other? And are we both coming through clear? Because last time I had my headphones or my microphone, and it was like seriously bad quality. But all right, so it looks good. Thank you, Gabriella. Sprout Queen, great for you to join us. Awesome, loved the conversation last week. Glad you enjoyed it. If anyone has any questions for Ike, be sure to put them in the chat. We'll just kind of be, just randomly talking about stuff. But if there's anything specific you want Ike's perspective on, or something in the context of especially a Fucus or Egypt, he is definitely the person to ask. So ask those questions in the chat. Karmic Kerfuffle, great for you to join us. Hello. I hope everyone is having a nice Sunday. Thank you, Karmic Kerfuffle. You as well. Jonathan Crowley, great for you to join us. Looking forward. Thank you. Thank you. Renegade Viking, hello, everyone. The Best Hopes Wellness, great, Julie. Great for you to join us, Julie. Thank you so much. And we'll have some questions there. Karmic has a question for you. Yeah, before we get into those, what were we talking about last week? So we were talking about a Fucus and the symbolism there from the Egyptians, and how even in the where was that temple where it was blocked out, a Fucus?
Oh, the Temple of Dendera.
Dendera, right? Dendera
Yeah,
temple.
yeah.
That 13th number was removed from that building. Or they tried
That's
to,
a
at
noble
least someone
thing.
tried
Yeah,
to. I wonder if that
yeah,
blackening was like came later, like maybe it wasn't blackened out until some future pharaoh or the Greeks, maybe, or someone in there maybe tried to obscure it.
yeah.
Any thoughts on
I
that?
shared the image the last week, and you can see like the entire ceiling is clean, and it's just like one square. It's
Yeah.
like if you were to look at my ceiling now and see one black square, wouldn't you ask a question about what happened?
Yeah.
How'd you miss
Yeah.
that?
And you did ask
Yeah,
them, right? And they said it was some kind of
yeah, yeah. The normal narrative is, oh, they missed that spot. They'll get to it.
they meant to
And
clean
I'm
it.
like,
It's like
yeah, and I'm
it's just
like, hang
dirty.
on a second. Yeah, I'm just like, you just spent years cleaning the entire temple.
Mm.
You miss one spot, and it happens to be the 13th decan, which is right where the 13th zodiac sign is, right between Scorpio and Sagittarius. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
We
believe
don't
it.
we don't ask those kinds of questions, like, and the people who
Yeah,
work there aren't privy to that information apparently, or maybe
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah. So
doubt
you
it.
have to have the eyes to see. Once you have the eyes to see, it's like it's all there.
Yeah,
The symbolism
yeah,
is all there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we were talking about a Fucus. Where else did we go last time?
Well, I'm not sure if I went here with you or was I doing another class and I went there, but I wanted to maybe open this up with you. So I traced, I did some tracing of the temple building, Fucus, and then temple building. I ran into a friend that said, "Hey, I remember you." He knew me from when I was a business person in retail. I said, "Oh no, dude, I do astrology. I'm far out now." He goes, "Oh, is that like called esoteric or something like that?" I said, "Well, that's kind of what is esoteric art." He goes, "I just read a great book called the, um, the Secret History of the World." And then from that book, I read it, and it talks about all the Freemason building of Washington, D.C., which then led me to another book that was focused purely on that, which was called The Secret Architecture of Our Nation's Capital. So I went through that book, and I'll share some stuff with you. Um, but it was built by Freemasons using ancient Egyptian temple building codes, cornerstone laying, Venus rising. The city's even laid out in a five-pointed star. There's a winged disc of Horus, um, right with President Washington in the National Monument. It's an
Hmm.
obelisk.
Hmm.
Then the Freemason Temple in D.C. has two sphinxes in front of them with the heads of Virgo. One of them has an Ankh symbol. So I went and saw all this for myself because after reading the book, it was crazy. Um, but then that's not it. So they called him a surveyor, but in this book they refer to him as the one who laid out the energetic lines and the architecture of Washington D.C. His name is Benjamin Banneker, and when Washington D.C. was built, he was a son of a freed slave, so he was a black man that was a Freemason. So during those days, not only, I mean, we were just, slavery was still happening, plantations, but he was not only a Freemason, but they gave him the position to design Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. So I thought, and it's laid out according to the Egyptian architecture, the temple building. So I thought to myself, is this possible? Maybe he's a reincarnation of the Imhotep who built Egypt, because it's sort of the same story. And then also he was celebrated years after his death. Same thing as Imhotep and the Christ. Because remember we connected the whole Christ story to this.
Right.
So I connected it to Washington D.C. Um, yeah, and then there's another story which I'll share of these obelisks that are called Cleopatra's Needles, and they are Egyptian obelisks that had to be erected at a certain time in Washington and New York and in England to connect this energy of Virgo through these pillars. So,
So these
so all the stuff
obelisks,
I
yeah,
uncovered.
there's a
Yeah,
lot of architecture in Washington in general that's borrowed from Egyptian.
yeah.
And what's their explanation as to why that's the case? Like, why do they say that? Like, if I was to go ask someone at the tour group, and I'm like, why is it an obelisk here in the middle of Washington D.C.? What would they
They say
say?
that's not an obelisk, that's just a big building. And then you go, well, why is there a winged disc of Horus right in the entrance? Oh, that's just artwork. Like they liked it, they imported it. I
And
mean,
on
I don't
the
know.
on
There's
the
no
money as
real.
well. I mean, they've got that all-seeing eye, the pyramids. They've got all kinds of Egyptian stuff always.
Yeah,
But this isn't so much Egyptian as much as it's maybe what was passed down to the Freemasons. Is it more like Washington
yeah,
D.C. is more just Freemason? Because I know the founding fathers were, most of them, I
yeah,
believe, were Freemasons,
yeah, yeah,
and the
yeah,
Freemasons have that lineage back to Egyptian
yeah. Temple
information,
building.
if you will.
Yeah, yeah,
Borrowing from that.
yeah,
Is that what it is then?
yeah.
It's just a bunch of Freemasons building the United States and building Washington,
Yeah,
D.C.,
yeah.
huh?
With Egyptian knowledge. And have you ever looked at the back of the dollar bill? Did you ever hear of that whole thing?
I mean, I've seen all kinds of stuff. I've seen the Twin Towers smoking. I've seen,
Yeah, yeah.
the
Hang
all
on.
saying eye,
Let
all
me
this stuff.
let me grab it. Hang on one second.
So while we're waiting for Ike, right? So we'll have Karma Kerfuffle with the first question.
So, got my money clip. So anybody can take out $1, turn it around. Okay. The pyramid, 13 levels.
13 levels on that pyramid?
Yep, 13 stars right here. And
oh, the 13 colonies, though, right? Isn't this symbolic for 13 colonies?
Say it again?
Oh, we cut out there. 13 colonies. Isn't that why they chose the 13 there?
The original 13 colonies.
Okay.
Then you look on the foot, the arrows, there's 13 arrows. 13 colonies, 13 levels.
Yeah.
And the angle of this pyramid is 23.5 degrees, which is that angle that we spoke about. That's hidden in a lot of Egyptian architecture. And also the Freemasons show this symbol. Remember we were looking last time? The angle that slays the dragon, the serpent of chaos.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's actually that measurement there of that.
Yeah, it's right there. Yeah,
that's wild. Yeah, that's wild. So what do you think's going on there? So what are the Freemasons to you, Mike?
I don't know. I think, to be honest, I think that they are... people make it evil, like the Illuminati and all this stuff. I mean, Illuminati means light, illumine. The people of light. So maybe the vast cosmic knowledge available to humankind is only given to those who've been initiated to understand it. And then maybe somewhere down the line there was an abuse of power of not making it available for just anyone. I mean, it makes common sense. You know, knowledge is power. Power is a weapon. Could be a weapon, depending on the intelligence or the ignorance behind it. So this is what makes perfect sense. And along with that, which is why I'm making all these connections, is that astrology, 13 sign astrology, the connection there with the 13th sign and where it is important. And it's not for everyone. Because I know you've been part of it, right? We argue over the 13th sign and we have dumb arguments, lowers the vibration.
Or about sidereal.
So that's why, like, for us, for me, for you, it's over. You know, we don't argue. I'm not here to sell you on the 13th sign. Either you hear what I'm saying or not. That's it.
So is there any like a Fucus? Is there any Fucus symbolism, specifically a Fucus from the Freemasons that you've seen, or maybe something you've seen there in Washington D.C. outside of the number 13 being repeated? Because one might say that's because there was 13 colonies, and so that number is just very common in the U.S. history. But anything else that points towards a Fucus or the serpent like that in Freemasonry?
Yeah, let me share. You gotta let me share. An option. I'll share screen and I'll show you a few things.
Okay, should be good.
Yeah, let's try it out. Yeah, there we go. So I just pulled this up quick because I'm doing this by. I usually do a presentation, but I'm doing this all by Google search because I actually want to encourage everyone else to just do their own kind of so-called research or just go down the rabbit hole. But look up who Imhotep was and realize how important he was. And then kind of drift off a little bit and realize, the connection between Imhotep, Asclepius, and the Fucus. Make that connection. Let everyone do their own thing. Right? But here's I actually have my own images here. Hang on a second. This is the Freemason Temple in Washington. And if you look, it's guarded by two sphinxes. Look at the year 1733. And they have serpents on their necks. And they have an Ankh symbol right here on the chest.
Man,
So these
this is
are
in Washington D.C. What's
sphinxes
this
with
in front
Virgo
of?
head. Say it again?
What's this in front of? What building?
Oh, in front of the Freemason Temple in Washington,
Oh, the
D.C.
Freemason Temple. Oh, okay, okay.
It's called the House of Temple.
Okay. That makes
And
sense.
you
Okay.
walk up, and there's two sphinxes guarding it. And the faces are like the feminine goddess faces, Virgo. Serpents on their necks. And then the Ankh symbol right here.
Okay.
If you zoom in to the chest, you'll see. Hang on. Right
Yeah, I
there.
didn't know serpents were used in Freemasonry, but of course it makes a lot of sense being that so much of their knowledge comes from
Yeah.
ancient cultures. So many ancient cultures use the serpent.
Yeah, look. Right on the neck. The
Mm-hmm.
serpent and the chest is the Ankh symbol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I saw this, and this is clearly Egyptian. I mean, that serpent,
Mm-hmm.
that's the uraeus. That's what they put on, you see on the pharaoh's head, which means initiated into cosmic consciousness, cosmic awareness. See? And the next one, there's two
Mm-hmm.
of them that has this. That's the Sky Mother goddess right here. If you look on her chest, that Sky Mother goddess is related to Virgo, Isis,
Mm-hmm.
right on her chest. So.
Okay. Anything outside of that serpent that's specifically a fukin, a fucus,
Um,
a
I mean,
fuci?
the serpent is what did it for me. And I'll just show you one more
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Yeah.
For example, well, that's the book. Hold on, I'm going to just show you the winged disc of Horus is right here, and there's two serpents on either side of that, which we all know that that's the symbolism behind a fucus, right? It's the two serpents, and then it's usually the sun god or the immortal human in the middle.
Hmm.
That's the symbol of Fucus. Remember last week we did the sun god of Teotihuacan, the Inca sun god. He had
Hmm.
the rays of the sun on his head, and then he's holding two serpents.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the two serpents with wings. This ties into the Fucus with the two serpents and the. It says a six-pointed star, which I'm not understanding. Because usually you either see a five-pointed or eight-pointed, but this is a six-pointed star. So, but this is the entrance to the obelisk, to the national monument,
Hmm.
the Washington Monument.
Oh, so
The big,
that's not because what interests me is not so much the Mason temples because I'm kind of expecting that from the Mason temples.
yeah,
What interests me is like this serpent symbolism inside of the U.S.
yeah,
Government offices and stuff. So that one there we just saw, that's Washington, and what building is
yeah,
that with the serpents?
yeah. And just to give you reference, this is I just put in. This is Edfu Temple. This is in Egypt. I've been there. All the temples on their pylon walls have this two
Right,
serpents
but
and the sun disk in the middle.
where was that serpent with Washington? What building was
It's
that?
in the Washington Monument. So the Washington Monument is it's the big obelisk. The big let me try to see
Oh,
if I
inside? I
have.
didn't know you could even go inside that. Inside the.
Yeah. See here, this monument in Washington.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
even
you
know
can
you.
go inside, I believe, and I think you can even look out here.
Huh.
But of course, people are making all these 6,000, 666 numbers. They're trying to get you scared. But that's that big obelisk right in Washington, D.C. That then I
Yeah.
think you look across and I forget what it points to, but
Hmm.
yeah, and this is just wing disc throughout. Yeah, here's the obelisk again, right here, the
Hmm.
big monument.
Okay, so serpent symbolism's inside that. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, it's inside that. Yeah,
And the rod
yeah.
itself has always been associated with the fucus in general, the single rod of healing, or the staff. You know.
hmm
Yeah, very
And
interesting. Okay.
yeah, so
Anything else?
here's the book. So if anybody wants to get this book, that's the book here. Secret Architecture of Our Nation's Capital, David Ovison. And
Nice.
again, if you want to look up Benjamin Banneker, see, so this is propaganda, right? So this is how they this is how this is how they draw him on Wikipedia. They give him like straight hair. right? You see that?
Hmm.
He has a little bit of dark skin with straight hair. But
Hmm.
when you go and you look at a real drawing of him, which we'll see here. Oh, and I forgot to mention the most important part. Benjamin Banneker was a master astronomer.
Hmm.
He was yeah. So he that's why they chose him. I can't find the image, but if you Google it, you'll see his image here. These things work slow when I'm streaming, but let's see if it comes up. But yeah, so he was a master astronomer, and how again how you become a master astronomer when you were born to slaves. You're freed. Your father is a freed slave, and you can read all about this is Wikipedia. So here's the image of him. This is
Hmm.
Benjamin Banneker,
Okay.
right? A woodcut portrait of Benjamin Banneker. This is what he looked like. So, and meanwhile, the rest of Washington politics, it's all white men, colonists.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
strange, huh? So this was at the same time as the formation. When was it exactly that he became
Um,
prominent?
yeah, let's get these dates down. I mean, we're looking at dates right here.
1792.
Use the ephemeris of 1792. Uh, the surveying team, 1791. So around these dates.
Yeah.
So
Because there
yeah,
were there were freed slaves, like even during slavery, obviously in the northern
yeah,
states, especially. But there wasn't very many. There wasn't very many.
yeah. But I'm
But he was
wondering.
one.
So it's
Yeah.
the same story. A freed slave or a son of a freed slave becomes a master astronomer and becomes a Freemason. That's
Hmm.
like, wait, no.
Yeah, that's wild, right?
Only if we believe in reincarnation and we realize Fucus was a master astronomer and astrologer. He laid out Egypt according to the heavens.
Hmm.
That's the whole concept of the step pyramid. He was the builder of the step pyramid, laid everything out to match the heavens.
Hmm.
Master astronomer. So here we now have another master astronomer.
So you think he's the
That
reincarnation of Imhotep, or
I believe in
possibly, let's say?
reincarnation. Yeah,
Yeah.
because like, there's no way we know during these days. There's no way that that's possible. A free slave or son of a free slave can rise up the ranks and become the builder of the most important city in the United States. Like what's that about?
I would be curious, like how much. So was he a Freemason? Was he a
Yeah, he
Mason?
became a
He was,
Freemason.
right?
How did
So
that happen?
I wonder if it's more like how many Masons were, from African descent. Like even
Many Mason
before,
what?
like, I wonder how many Masons, like from the late 1700s, were actually from African descent. Like how many? Because
That's a
Masonry
that's a good
does
point. Yeah,
go to Europe as well. And not
yeah,
all of Europe was obviously doing the whole slavery thing too. So
yeah,
I'm wondering if maybe Masons in general were looser, and maybe it was more of a kind of a global Masonry
right.
kind of a thing. And maybe it was common for, those of African descent to be Masons. I'd really be curious to see if that's the case. But either
Yeah,
way, especially in the United States, that is
yeah. I
wild.
mean, somehow
Yeah.
I doubt it because it's the way we know the world to be. But there's
Yeah.
something strange there. I saw that. That was strange. And
And it
a
would make
master
sense if he
astronomer.
was some kind of like spiritually relevant person,
Yeah,
comes in, maybe pass some sort of tests or
yeah,
something and proves
yeah.
himself, right? Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm like. This is odd, and I don't know. It's a hunch. I mean, this is not checked. I mean, this is just me having a hunch and saying, "Whoa, what's this is not adding up."
Yeah, it's true. That's how I work too. Anything that doesn't add up, I immediately go to it as
Yeah,
let's analyze that. Yeah. So let's
yeah.
go through some of
Okay.
these questions.
Yeah.
Let's see what Karma Kerfuffle was asking here. So a question for Ike. When and how did his interest in ancient Egypt begin? So what got you started with this whole
Oh,
ancient
with me?
Egypt stuff?
Ah,
Yeah.
good
Hmm.
question. That, well, naturally, before I started astronomy, astrology, I was an astronomer, what we call a astrophotographer and an amateur astronomer. Um, so I just connected with the stars, and then through sidereal astrology, which is then how I met you, because I'm like, hey, I'm observing the sky and things are not matching up. And I saw your charts and your charts match up to the sky. And then that's how we started kind of working together and stuff. So then of course, I think every sidereal astrologer can relate to this in the beginning. They're lying to us. Who's lying to us? Why don't we do astrology according to the stars? Who's holding the secrets, right? We That's like a normal whoop. So that's what happened to me. And you remember me from back in like what, 2016, 2017. I was like, that's how I started Sidereal Revolution, the Facebook group. We gotta speak up.
Yeah.
So I
And
started
and
looking for answering that question. Why are we, the world, most of the world, practicing astrology that's not in alignment with the stars when it should be? What went wrong? And who knew about it going wrong? And why did they allow it to go wrong for so long that the original form of astrology, which is sidereal, is now called the new astrology or recently discovered system, when actually it's an ancient system, the original. So that quest led me to Egypt because Egypt is known to be have origins in a star religion, temple building, archaeoastronomy. They were all about the stars, the Amduat that we showed last time. So that is what led me to Egypt. And then right from there, naturally, because I do believe in reincarnation and past lives, and I landed in Egypt, was like, oh, I came home. I came home to pick up some lost pieces. I came home to just gather a few of my things for more knowledge. So that's why Egypt.
mm. And was that around the same time you actually physically went there? Like you just started to become very
No, it was a few
interested
years
before
later
that,
because
or?
I went there for 3 months and that was a big mission. So I think we started this whole mission, this whole astronomy merger was like 2016, 17. By the time I made it to Egypt, I think it was 2022.
Oh, so you were
And then,
immediately drawn to Egypt at the same time as True Sidereal.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, it led me there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, all roads seem to lead there. Egypt,
yep, yep.
pre-Babylonian times as
Hmm.
well, right?
Yeah,
Mesopotamia.
I would love all to check all that out, but I think it's a hostile environment like Iraq and
Oh,
Iran
to
and
physically go. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I
yeah,
meant
yeah,
just
I
like
think kind of
knowledge and
hostile.
yeah.
Yeah, war.
All right, so let's see. Aquarius Sky Clock. I don't know if this is a question, but let me read it here. Evening, as I watched the moon last night, a shooting star flew direct at it. Last week you mentioned about Saint Michael spear.
Yep.
Did you know your heart is at the same angle as the Earth axis? Did you know your heart is at the same angle? Sorry, so this, I wonder if he means because the heart
Oh
is
yeah,
kind
shit,
of
I didn't
tilted.
know that. That makes sense because it is. Yeah, wow, 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 wow. We gotta look at that.
So let me
That's
know, Aquarius Sky Clock, if I'm understanding you right, that you're mentioning the heart axis being the same angle as the Earth axis. But yeah, let's
wow.
look into that. That's interesting.
Yeah, we can look into that. I never thought of that one. I love learning all the time. That's the beauty of
Yeah, and that's the beauty of these
me.
chats too, because everyone
Yeah.
brings in new
And I know
knowledge
a
or
lot, but
perspective.
shit, I'm always learning.
Yeah. So Jonathan Crawley wants to know, Captain Ike, can you reshare the missing space photo? Did you have
The
a
which one?
space photo? Can you reshare the missing space photo?
The missing space photo. What is that?
I don't know. Was there a photo you had last week in there that was there something
Oh,
missing?
the blacked out square. The square of Dendera. The
Oh, the
13
missing
zodiac.
space. Oh, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Do you
Um,
have that picture?
yeah, I'll pull that up. It's gonna take a minute to pull up because my system is slow when I'm streaming, but let me see here if I can pull that up real quick. I just open up PowerPoint. While it's opening, let's take a few more questions and then let's let it
Yeah.
open. Oh,
All
it
right.
is here.
Unless you
Hang
have,
on a
I
second.
guess maybe Jonathan's
Let
wanting
me
an
see.
actual link. Is it online anywhere?
I'm not sure if it's online or not.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Because this was your
but I
actual
know. Let
photo,
me.
right? You physically took that photo?
Yeah. Say it again.
You physically took that photo that you shared of Dendera.
Yeah, yeah. I physically took it. Yeah, I found. I have the presentation up. Let me go down here
That would
and
be cool if
find
you
it.
could maybe, because we reference this presentation a lot. This would be cool if you maybe posted this on your website. And then the world would have access to your photos through Google, you know?
Oh yeah. Well, it's on. I have it. I have a YouTube channel. It's not huge, but it's on there. This
But I mean,
video is
as
on there.
like an
Here's the.
image.
Well,
Yeah.
not this one. Right. See, here's the photo here. Here's the temple, and then here's the blown up, a zoomed in version. So you see here, here's Sagittarius, and then in
Yeah.
the next photo over here, you will see Scorpio.
Hmm.
And just to give you a point of reference, this is the entire ceiling. So the entire ceiling has been cleaned. It's been uh, refurbished, except for this one square. And I asked about it, and they said, "Oh, that's the 13th decan. Um, they just forgot it." And you can see Scorpio is here, Sagittarius is here, and we know that when we look in the sky, the Fucus is in the middle between Scorpio and Sagittarius.
Is there anything else in that actual a Fucus square that is specifically a Fucus?
Well, what we looked at, the Egyptologist I went with, he wrote a book about the temple, and it's great. This Egyptologist was also the guide for Graham Hancock, so he guided Graham Hancock through the temples. So he's showing me his PDF of his new book that's coming out, a big coffee table type book, and he shows me the image on his phone. Then he shows me the name Sepet Kanu. Serpent, it's a serpent, serpent. And the head, if you look closely, the head is the head of a serpent.
Oh, it is. So the name
Yeah, it's the head of a
Sepet,
serpent.
Sepet Kenu, the word serpent's in
Yeah,
there? Translates to
yeah.
serpent?
And you can't find, if you Google, like, I don't know all the names of the decans, but if you Google Sepet Kanu,
Hmm.
nothing comes up.
Hmm.
But I tried it before. I found the names of the other decans and I Googled those and it came up. Like a few things came up. But for the 13th one, zero, nothing came up. And I'm like, of course nothing comes up.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's too
You know,
deep.
like this is again what makes me ask these questions.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So Winter Raw says, question, has the 13th sign always been a part of True Sky's sidereal astrology? How did it was it how was it determined to be the 13th sign? What's the history?
Mm, yeah. I think it was always in there. There's a book that I have called Astrotheology, Sidereal Mythology. So your people can find it. It's by Michael Tsarion, T-S-A something, Tsarion, Michael Tsarion. Yeah, Astrotheology, Sidereal Mythology. That's it. Yep. Um, and in the book, he says in the ancient times, the secret societies practiced astrology using the 13 signs. It wasn't even a secret. Like they that's what they did. So yeah, why 13? I don't. 13 is the symbolism is all over. I mean, even the story in Egypt of Osiris, they say that he was cut. The story goes he was cut in 13 pieces. Some say 14 to throw you off, but he was cut in 13 pieces and thrown into the Nile. And then the 13th piece, I think, was his phallus, which is the obelisk, which is the Washington Monument is an obelisk. This is the needle. So
Well,
yeah,
14 would
is
make
something.
sense too for Orion because once you start adding constellations, Orion would, if we are linking Orion with Osiris, I mean, if we're linking Orion with Osiris, which it often is,
Hmm.
you could say Orion is the 14th sign.
Yeah,
Fucus is the 13th sign, Orion is the 14th sign. So
yeah,
that would make sense too. But Fucus and Orion share the same opposition, right? So
yeah.
they are a polarity to each other. One's yin, one's yang, kind of a thing, right?
Hmm.
Um,
And
but
if
yeah,
you
the
look at the light
symbolism
of
is
God,
is all over the place. We're starting to realize with serpent symbolism, but there isn't anything specific about a fucus being used outside of what you've shared with us with Egypt.
hmm
Obviously, the Greeks were aware of a fucus, obviously, and there's mention of Greeks using that in astrology. But pre-Greek and outside of Egypt, I mean, I don't think there's anything that we can say conclusively that a
hmm
fucus was used, right? Unless I'm
yeah,
missing something. So
yeah,
a lot of it is difficult to say whether we did use a fucus and to what extent, but we do know
hmm
for certain that the stars of Scorpio even in Babylonian and pre-Babylonian, the stars of Scorpio were always completely separate from what we're calling the stars of Ophiuchus. In other words, there are a whole cluster of stars that have always passed through the ecliptic, which that's the definition of a zodiac sign, is a constellation that goes through the ecliptic. So there was for sure a constellation, whether you want to call it a fucus or you want to call it something else. There was for sure stars that were not included in Scorpio that did pass through the ecliptic. So, it's almost, in my opinion, like for sure there was some symbolism used for those stars pre-Babylonian. But what the Babylonians did, which is what I think makes it so difficult, is they made everything 12 signs, and they made everything an even 30
yeah,
degrees.
hmm
So they definitely saw Scorpio, they definitely saw Sagittarius, but in the sky at that time there was definitely a whole constellation there passing through the ecliptic that wasn't included
yeah,
in either of those in the pre-Babylonian zodiac, which is a direct symbol that something was used in its
yeah,
place. But unfortunately, we don't have, I don't think, much more information than that. We don't have any
yeah,
hard evidence to suggest that a fucus was used. And
right.
why it's 13 is simply because 12 was used, and now we're tacking it on as 13. Um,
Mm.
we might say it's maybe more specifically the eighth and a half. You could say it's the eighth and a half
I've heard that before. Yeah,
zodiac sign coming after
yeah,
Scorpio, which is 8.
yeah,
But 13 because it was after
yeah,
the 12 zodiac that the Babylonians and
yeah,
pre-Babylonians created. You know.
yeah. What other questions?
Let's see here. I'll just read some of these comments, see if there's a question in here somewhere. Benjamin de Crossland says, just watched Good Will Hunting again yesterday. Will told his girlfriend that he was a 13th boy in his family. Yeah, the number 13 comes
13.
up a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I wonder if there's some symbolism there in that movie.
yeah.
Nicole Torres says, what was the name of the freed slave that helped to build White House, D.C.? Right, so
Oh, Benjamin Banneker.
Benjamin Banneker.
I'll share the screen again. You can see. Yeah, I mean, I have, yeah, it's, it's interesting that, when you read the book that I'll show you again, uh, Here it is here, Benjamin Banneker. Let me just get this up. This is him, Benjamin Banneker. Can you see it?
Yeah, yeah, we see it.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting, which we didn't even open up yet, is that when they built Washington, D.C., according to the Egyptian temple building, with the cornerstone needed to be laid at a certain time when either Sirius was rising or Virgo was either descending or rising on the midheaven, and also Venus. So all of the what's really like it just blew me away. Like all of the goddess energies needed to be in alignment when Washington D.C. was being built, and that's normal for Egypt. Like in Egypt, you hear this cornerstone was laid when Sirius was rising, and in the southeast, and then we have it aligned with the Big Dipper. The goddess Isis is the star Sirius, so that's like, of course, Isis is everywhere. The goddess, that's like kind of like the feminine energy in Egypt is like, yeah, that was a matriarch society. But we all know Washington, D.C. is not, Freemasonry is not, right? But
Hmm.
what was the reason why they had to do it in alignment with the feminine goddess energy? Even in the front of the Freemason Temple, House of Temple in Washington, D.C., they're feminine sphinxes. Why aren't they lion headed? Why aren't they masculine headed? They're feminine.
Hmm.
Even if we want to go further, the Statue of Liberty, she's supposed to be the light bringer, the goddess. And then I saw a photo some years ago that they 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 chain there's a chain, a shackle to the Statue of Liberty's foot.
I didn't know
And I
that.
think somebody said the reason for that is so that they don't steal it.
Well, that's very interesting. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she has a chain. She's chained
Oh,
down.
interesting.
So my questions are, did they know these celestial alignments to bring in the goddess energy, to then harness it, or to suppress it? Because if we see Washington D.C. face on, it's suppressed feminine,
Hmm.
right? It's not,
Well,
it's
it's because
not
of the. Well, you
liberated.
mean masonry, right? Because
Masonry,
masonry
yeah,
is obviously very, um, patriarchal.
male dominated.
I mean, male dominated. Yeah,
Yeah,
but I wonder if they had to do that for, working with the energy, because we know with astrology, it's like there's better times to do certain things, right? And we do that obviously with our electional astrology and transits and
yeah,
all this. But I mean, if you extend that, that's the same thing as saying that you want to build things during certain times, right?
yeah,
And if you do go to Egyptian, like you said, Egyptian knowledge that the Masons do draw from, like you said, the feminine energy is a matriarch, so it was revered and worked with. So
yeah.
that's a bit of a contradiction there. Why is Freemasonry male dominated when they're drawing from, let's say, Egyptian culture, which was female dominated,
Exactly,
and
yeah.
and maybe they're building those structures at those times with the feminine energy is strong because maybe that's how the Egyptians did it, or maybe that's how the Egyptians said you should do it. Or maybe
Right,
those
exactly.
particular structures, which are very Egyptian in nature, need the feminine energy, the Isis energy, in order for them to
Creation.
be constructed correctly,
Yeah,
energetically or something. Yeah. That's
yeah.
very
And that's the
interesting, though. I
question.
didn't know that. Yeah.
What went wrong? Like what
Yeah.
happened,
Yeah. A lot
There's
of
something else I want to
contradictions
bring
there,
up.
too. You know.
This and again, this is Google. I visited this one myself as well because I'm from New York. I'm originally from New York. This is the what's called Cleopatra's Needles. So your listeners can go down that rabbit hole because what I found out about this was these were two obelisks. One is in New York, the one right here. One is in London. So I read about it too. I think it's in that book, The Secret Architecture, or it might be in The Secret History of the World. But it talks about how it was the one for New York was sponsored by J.P. Morgan, who was a Freemason. Um, the amount of money and energy that was spent to get this obelisk across the Atlantic to the Americas and to London was like unheard of. They even had to cut a hole in the ship because the obelisk was so big. And you'll find images of it when you do your research. The obelisk stuck out of the ship because it was so long. And the ship went across the Atlantic. And it had to be, that was the story, it had to be erected at a certain time. Something like 1809, or there's a date you'll find when it was erected, but I don't know exactly the date. I forgot all of this stuff. But it had to be erected at a certain time. And the London one also had to be erected at the same time. It was almost like antennas, because that's what the obelisk is. It's a piezoelectric, it's granite, which is piezoelectric crystal, which was for energy, like an antenna, which is also what the obelisk in Washington D.C. is. It's a piezoelectric. It's quartz and granite. So I'm going, what are the odds that they had to rush this project? And you can read stories. There's so many cool stories on how it landed um, at the south part of New York City. And during these days, it was only horse and carriage and buggy, whatever. They had it was um like a net like a what do you call it, like a festival.
Hmm.
People the transporting through horse and buggy took days to get,
Like a
or weeks or
parade.
whatever it was to get through, that they had like people setting up vendor carts and selling food. It was like a spectacle to get these obelisks raised.
Yeah,
And I'm
that's
just
wild.
like, what is
That's a big
this?
deal.
What
And
is
you're
this?
saying
What's this about?
they erected them at specific times, and they waited
At
for that
specific times. It
specific
had to
time
be up at
to.
specific times.
Very
Yeah.
interesting. All
Oh,
right, so
and let
yeah, I
me
was
add
going
one
to take
more
a
thing.
couple more questions. Yeah.
There's the layout of Washington. That's the five-pointed star, which is some say it's evil, but this is actually supposed to represent the star of man, the Vitruvian man. There's five
Hmm.
points, two arms, two legs, one head. But
Yeah.
some say it's the Saint, whatever. I don't think that's true. But if you look that up, you'll see the streets cross, and then and right in the center is Scott Circle. And I'm just like, whoa. And I drove the streets and I saw they do go, these streets are there. I went to Washington. I looked at all of this stuff. So, and of course, it's on the
Interesting.
History Channel and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
there's a lot there. Very
yeah,
interesting stuff. Yeah. All right, so just a couple more questions, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up
yeah,
here.
yeah.
All right, so let's see. Actually, yeah, let me just see if I can identify any questions here. Oh, there's a lot. Actually, I've been kind of
It is a lot.
slacking
Gets
here.
to it.
All right, some spelling. Okay. Some spelling questions. Asclepius is with a C. A Fucus has an IUCH in there. Some questions about the spelling. Benjamin D. Crossland, 13 reduced to a 4, the most stable of numbers. So it reduces to a 4, it's the most stable of numbers. 4 sides to the portal to most doors and windows, but it's not 4 like in building. No 13th floor. 13 seems to be a portal, and path not seen but chosen. Yeah, it's very interesting. Observation, not seen but chosen. Whereas 4, yeah, so 4 always kind of being that portal, right? And stability, yeah. A 3D 6-pointed star does become an 8-pointed star if it is constructed out of 2 tetrahedrons, 3-sided pyramid with 4 faces of equilateral triangles. So
Yeah, that's
that's
the
MS.
Merkaba. Yeah, yeah. That's what those 13 stars on the dollar bill forms. It's actually like a
So
star
that's
seed.
what. Yeah, so that's MS, and she's saying that the 6-pointed star would make sense in that sense. It also makes sense from an astrological standpoint, being that we do use 12 very commonly in astrology, and that
Mm-hmm.
reduces to 6. All right, let's see. Any more questions? Then what are the Native Americans? I don't know if there's anything you want to add about Native Americans in the context of what we talked about.
Yeah.
MS, clearly a different race. We're talking about something different here. It's a different question. MS is saying clearly a different race, and okay, we all assume that a single race originates in an area on Earth, right? But is that 100% true, or is it possible that that isn't exactly true? Yeah, I think it's good to question these understandings of racial origination, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Visited Egypt in 1992. Okay. What has sidereal, so that's Benjamin D. Crossland again, what has sidereal given you the most in regards to knowledge thyself? So we'll go ahead and conclude it here. There are some more questions, but it's going to take me a little bit to go through all these. So sorry I couldn't get to them all. But we'll conclude it with that question, specifically for Ike. What has sidereal given you the most in regards to knowing thyself? Or is it so the question is it knowing thyself? Is knowing thyself the biggest thing that sidereal has given you?
I think so. I usually say, going back to that sidereal tropical argument, I don't argue anymore. I just say, understanding sidereal makes you celestial. Working with tropical keeps you human. So make your choice if you want. And most people prefer to stay on the human level. I want my job. I want my good husband or wife. I want my nice house. And that's it. And for me, I did all that young. So I took the other pill. I said, I want to be celestial because I was a stargazer, as an astronomer. So I was already having these conversations with the stars. Like I literally can hear messages from the stars. I had conversations, heard messages from Orion. And this is a real thing. So I took that pill. And I got to know myself that way, which is kind of cool. So that's what happened to me.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
I don't know if that
That's a
answers the
great
question.
way of thinking about it. Yeah, I think it does, yeah.
Yeah.
What benefit does true sidereal have? I think, what you're saying here is, what would you say is the outcome of that? What is the outcome to being more celestial? Freedom, knowledge.
Knowing that you're part of a bigger picture.
Yeah.
Because
we get so focused on Earth, right?
Yeah. We all have moments of saying we're made of stardust and these things, but then they go back to work at that office.
Yeah.
So it's like, can you, what are stars? Like stars' souls, like the indigenous Americans say, the Indians, they say, every star there is a soul. Is it? What's the name of our sun? Oh, soul. Whoa, wait a second. Is that the thing? There was a movie a while ago. I forgot the name of it, but it was I think they were called the Celestials. Anyway, that's gonna go beyond. But I mean, I think we're part of something bigger. And what if we can tap into that? And along with that comes manifesting at the speed of thought and things like that. But like, what if?
Yeah, and there's a reason that there's night, and at night the only natural light is the stars, right? So there's a reason why the universe is set up this way, why life is set up this way. That celestial, this celestial half, if you will, the sky, the visible sky half, the star half, the astrological half, is literally half of life. It's half of life.
Yeah, exactly. Half
You
a
know,
life.
so
Yeah.
I think it's
Oh,
important.
that's amazing. Yeah, it's half a life. Half a life. You
Yeah.
do your material stuff, and then half a life.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my life. I owned a bunch of retail stores. I couldn't even, I didn't even know what a star was. You know,
Yeah.
so
Nowadays,
all through my
yeah.
20s, 30s, and up to my 40s, I was like, wait a second, slow down.
Yeah.
There's something bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. All right, so we'll conclude it here. Ike, thank you again
yeah,
so much for joining us. You want to leave
yeah.
everyone your website and your Facebook group or anything else you want to share before we leave?
Yeah, go on the Facebook group, Sidereal Revolution. You're on there.
Yep.
Everyone's on there.
Yeah.
My website's siderealastrologist.com. So
Okay,
yeah. Oh,
great.
and that movie,
Gabriella, if you could post.
check out my movie.
Oh, that's right, in the
Code 12.
documentary.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, what was
yeah,
it
on
called again?
Amazon.
That
It's called
documentary?
Code 12, the movie.
Code 12. Code
Yeah,
12.
and I
Okay.
talk about my time in the temple in Egypt, up the 13th sign.
Yeah.
So
All
check
right,
that out.
cool. So Sidereal
Yeah,
Revolution on Facebook,
yeah.
siderealastrologist.com. Do I have that
Hmm.
right? And
Yeah,
Code
yeah,
12 on Amazon. Just type in Code
yeah,
12. It's a very interesting
yeah.
documentary, very, very high quality as well.
It's pretty cool. I had some top-notch people in that film.
Yeah,
I
that
was
was a good one.
surprised
I
at
was
that.
surprised. I'm like, oh, there's Ike. It was weird.
I
I
was
was
like,
like,
damn.
I'm just watching a, Hollywood documentary, and then all of a sudden Ike shows up. Literally just shows up walking down the desert, I think it was, right?
Yeah, you see me with the desert. I have scrolls, and then she picks me up in the Mustang.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, Code 12, yeah. All right,
Yeah,
Ike. Well, you have a good one. We'll do this again sometime soon. And
you got it,
wishing
brother.
everyone
All
else a
right.
great week. I'll see everyone next
Yeah,
week.
yeah. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Take care.
All right.